I don't know. As a black person, I already knew all this. I knew all this stuff before people would tell me. That makes sense.
Right.
So I already knew that all these companies must have been done on the back of slavery because they were built back in the days where there was slaves. Do you know what I mean?
You gotta think, like, most of the people who migrated from the South in America, well, you gotta go further back. So obviously the Roman Catholic Church invested in all these crusaders to go to different countries and do what they did with slavery. And then you fast forward to the South and how the South had all this money because of slaves and all the stuff they were doing, the crops and cotton and tobacco and all that type of stuff. And you move forward to when slavery was abolished, and then they started locking black people up for just stupid shit and then having them do the crops anyway and do the railroads and stuff like that. These companies, JP Morgans and all these companies, they were built on the back of those guys having money and migrating from the South to the cities with their money and using on the back of black people. I mean, these statues were built and moved by black people, I'm sure. And it goes back to like the original stuff with like them removing these statues and stuff like that. Like all that stuff, everything you see, every building you see, and if that's the painful part, every building in London that is old, that has been there since 1813, whatever the case may be, our people had a hand in carrying those and institutions. Well, think about it this way. We're the basis of a thesis. Yo, I fucked myself up yesterday when I thought about that. That's a new line that I gave you just now, that I was sitting in my room and I was like, yo, black people are literally a study. We're the basis of we're the basis of a lesson, of a thesis that turned out to be the biggest hoodwink and fucking like debacle of all time. Like if you could study slavery, right? We were the blueprint of the biggest plan of all time. If we get them to do the labor and build all this shit, right? And we benefit, and then we set up the system based on what we want them to do, then they'll never grow. And then we'll be fine. We'll always make money. It's crazy. I was sitting there, I can't remember who I think I was talking to my mom at one point, and then I went upstairs and I was deep in it, and I was like, we're literally like a textbook. We're like we're a thesis. We should be taught in schools, like, of what we've overcome and what we've achieved. Because my grandfather helped build the Empire State Building and got paid less than the white people who built the Empire State Building, but he was probably doing more work.
We'll be boycotting everything. you can't literally boycott everything. That's just not possible.
It's so crazy. And the thing is, it's not possible. But at the same time, I'm also on the mind of like, fuck it. You're getting to that point where you're gonna have to try, right? Because, I mean, look, man.
I see it this way, right?
Yeah.
So the company that I work for, right? If my people built that company, right, as in like they're the hand in slavery 200 years ago, 150 years ago, 100 years ago, right? I want to benefit off that.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying? So why should I leave the company that I'm at where my people helped build this company? Do you get what I'm saying? Like, I should be benefiting from this. I shouldn't just be...
I should be getting my money per year. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I shouldn't be leaving this company and then a white person comes in and takes my job. That's just stupid.
The question I would probably pose to that is, you could grow within that company. Honestly, I mean, preferably, I would rather us build our shit and then you own half, I own half, and we're good.
Yeah.
But in the interim of, like, let's say that never happening, goose egg, and I work at, I don't know, Amazon or something, right? The whole point, and I've always been this way, and I know that you're this way as well. The whole point is that if you work somewhere, you're going to want to be the best at your job and want to be at the highest point of your job and want the respect that people are going to come with and say, yo, this guy needs to move up. Worked at the cinema, I wanted to be the best at anything I did, and it didn't matter. And maybe that carried some arrogance and a chip on my shoulder and so on and so forth. But the main thing is I want to be better than everybody around me.
Mm-hmm.
But to boycott everything. I don't think we should boycott everything, but I think we should boycott a lot of things.
Yeah. I'm on the premise of if it's happened recently, right?
We can boycott stuff.
Then yeah, we should boycott it. So like Papa John's, for example, that was a boycott moment. People shouldn't be boycotting that, right? But something that's happened 150, 200 years ago, right? You shouldn't boycott it. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying there shouldn't be reparations. That's not what I'm saying, right? But if there are going to be reparations, don't give it to me, right?
Yeah.
Fund that into getting like 10
scholarships for kids.
Yeah, exactly. That's what companies should be doing. They should be like,
programs and all sorts. Yeah,
we did X, Y, and Z. We funded this. We made X amount of money from it, right? What we're going to do is we're going to have a 10-year plan, right? And we're going to give back the money to Black people, right? Within bringing them into the workplace or giving them jobs or whatever it is, right? That's the way that you do it. You don't just say like, oh, it's going to boycott everything.
Exactly. I think the problem, like I said, the problem is we live in a time. We live in a time where, like I said, it's like cancel culture, but we don't have the power to cancel anybody truly. Like, Black people can't cancel somebody because if they're still making bread or able to make bread, then you can't cancel them. You know, if white people Wiley is the biggest example of it. You know, one day he says something, next day he doesn't exist anymore. And everything he did to try and get back onto social media, they deleted. And now he's back on, but he's still got to, be very, level-headed about what he's doing, because next time they cancel you, they're going to make sure you can never come back to anything. You know what I'm saying? They're letting you live in this circle. So we don't own the companies that have the power. And that's what I mean by we need to probably set up our own thing. Like for me, I said this the other day, and I can't remember who it was, but they got offended by it. This is before COVID. I said the other day, it was a while back. I said, Bits Media for me is about not just about hiring Black people, but hiring the best person for the job. I was like, just like if I was to vote for president, I'm not going to vote for the Black guy just because he's Black. I'm going to vote for the best person to do the best job. But I do understand educating my people. I do understand maybe putting a Black guy in a position he's not necessarily prepared for and teaching him how to run that role, so he can actually then pass that knowledge down to another 10 Black people, right? And they were like, yeah, but you just said. I said, no, I know what I'm saying, and I still stand by it. But at the same time, we have to help each other, even if we're not the best at that particular role at that time. A lot of the time, you see a lot of Black youth want to go get a job, and then it says, do you have a degree? And then they don't. And then they don't apply because they know there's absolutely no chance of them getting that job, even though they might be best placed for it. So for instance, I don't have a degree, but I always say to Nicole, I could probably do the job of her manager in content creation, because he doesn't actually create anything. He just comes up with ideas. So you're paying this man just to say, oh, this would be good. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, I could do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, and he doesn't even he doesn't actually believe in the internet as being a thing that helps drive content. Like, he's still old school. So you remove him and put somebody like me in, I would call myself an innovative person in a sense. So you put me in, all of a sudden we're making more money.
Yeah.
But you won't take me for two reasons. One, we're going to talk about color of skin. That's one thing. But the second thing is the fact that I don't have a degree. So people who sit there and say, and instead of giving that person an opportunity, I'm not saying give 100,000 people those opportunities. I'm saying instead of giving that one person an opportunity, you'd rather give the job to somebody who has a degree, and then not finding out if it could be bigger because somebody else is thinking outside the box. I think you got the best of both worlds in a sense, because I think you, and then you went education, but you don't think all the time like academically. You still have imagination. A lot of people who go academic don't necessarily have a big imagination. That's why, like, somebody like that MP said, oh, creatives and stuff like that should retrain, because the imagination is not there to figure out how they can help those people, continue to be creative and make money. And that's the sad part. So I think sometimes I would take chances on guys who didn't have degrees and teach them shit. Why not?
Yeah. Just got, it's all to do with skill set, right? Like, you could look at someone's thing and be like, oh, they got an idea. All right, I'll just ask them to come up with 3 ideas, and they come up with a sick idea, and you're like, yeah, like
that will work. It needs structure, but that will. But I think that's the difficulty. That's the difficulty of with the society we live within. Is this? Like I said, young Black men and young Black women who are brilliant don't get the standing. They work at McDonald's. They work at Subway. They work at KFC. They work at City World. They work at menial jobs, and they don't get to be the head director of head creative director of Nike because they don't have a degree. But they're skilled, or they're self-taught at some of these things, or they have good ideas. They're not even put in a position that's below that, or a couple positions below that, and also they can learn, because you're going to take the kid straight out of MIT, which I'm not against. This guy at MIT, of course you're going to take him, right? But sometimes living a life outside of the classroom is beneficial to the boardroom.
Sometimes you don't even get, even if you've got a degree. Like there's
you don't even get the job you're getting a degree in.
So many people I know that have a degree but don't even study, don't even work anywhere near what they're doing. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So sometimes a degree is meaningless in itself.
Hey, we know a specific person right now who has a psychology degree and doesn't do anything to do with psychology. So, state to me, I always just looked at, and this is probably ignorant, but I always looked at it as I spend all that money and not do what I went there for. That's crazy. Like, I was just like, that's crazy. And I don't mean in the sense of not having a good job. I mean in the sense of people who actually don't do anything with the degree. Like, you get this degree, but then you work at JD Sports. And I'm not knocking you. I'm just saying that's your job for the rest of your life. Some people only work at Starbucks. Some people, and I'm like, what degree do you have? Oh, I have a degree. I have a doctorate in this. And I'm like, but you make coffee.
I'll say most people that work in Starbucks, I don't even know the stats, but I'm just going to say most people that work in Starbucks, right, over the age of 21, probably have a degree.
Yeah.
One or two people have a degree.
But that's the thing. Like, for me, who didn't pick that route, I'm still below that guy. Even if they are working at Starbucks. Because if we both went for the same job, and Nicole was saying this to me the other day, she was like, it's not the degree, it's the idea that you're just as smart as me because you have a degree.
Yeah, of course.
And
it's also what university you went to.
Yeah, I'm like, that's so fucked up. I was like, because I can be smarter than you without the paper. Like, people can just self-educate. But it's interesting. Like, it's always interesting. Those are interesting concepts. And people are very funny, man. People are very funny. And when you see the job market and how these things work, and you see how, like I said, like Bits Media, for me, I want to hire the best for the job. I want the best in class. But at the same time, I also want to give opportunities to those who probably didn't think they'd ever get the opportunity. Yeah. And see if they can become bigger than me and go do their own thing. I think those people are out there. But they'll never be heard if we keep, you got to go to school. And I'm not saying you shouldn't go to school. I'm just saying everyone's route is not the same. And you have to praise those who have routes that probably go a different way, but they get to the same place.